Yes. This is Errol Spence Jr. You're watching True School Sports. All
right. It's personal between me and you, and I'm going to do you some serious harm, you big stiff idiot.
The untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing game's been missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, this is my recap of tonight's Pro Box Promotion show. If you guys don't have it already, I would highly advise anybody to go download and subscribe to the Pro Box TV app. They give you great competitive fights, cards every single month, sometimes multiple cards a week. They're doing a hell of a job. And tonight's card, the main event was former featherweight champion Zhu Can. It's been a long time since we've seen or heard anything from Zhu Can. And last time we saw Zhu Can, he fought Lee Wood. We know Lee Wood, that was kind of the fight that put Lee Wood on the map when he stopped Zhu Can and, went on the run he's been on. But, this is his first fight since that fight. He was taking on the Mexican fighter, the 24-year-old Brandon Benitez. Now, when we looked at Brandon Benitez's record, he was 18-2. Zhu Can was 18-3 coming in. So on paper, the fight looked even record-wise. Zhu Can's obviously fought better opposition, but stylistically it was a good fight because we know with Zhu Can doesn't have a lot of power and he doesn't have a whole lot of defense, and we know that Zhu Can has been winning a lot of these fights, like the Manny Robles fight, the fight with Rojas and whatnot. He's been winning these fights because of the ridiculous conditioning and work rate that he has, throwing upwards of 1,000+ punches a fight. But that hasn't been the case. That wasn't the case in the last fight with Lee Wood. Now, this fight with Benitez, I feel like Zhu Can, because Zhu Can had a new trainer, some guy, and this trainer, respect to everybody in boxing, but I wasn't a fan of the instructions this trainer was giving him, because they were, we'll get into that later. But it was a fight where Zhu Can was trying to box a little bit more. He was throwing a lot more single shots, trying to throw shots with more oomph behind them, but that's just not who he is. And what wound up happening was Benitez was able to lure Zhu Can into exchanging with him for most of the fight. Benitez was able to land hard body shots, overhand rights, left hooks on the guard. He was able to land a lot of punches because Zhu Can, despite being the taller man, gave up his size. And when Zhu Can would try to get out the pocket, he would always leave in a high guard, being very tall. So it allowed Benitez to catch him on the way out, and it kept happening over and over and over again. There were pockets of the fight, a couple rounds where Zhu Can showed the work rate of old, where he would double up on, triple up on right hands, sometimes throw 4 punches at a time, but it was just too few and far between. And the same problems he had when he was winning, he's been having he's been having since he's been losing. Lack of defense, lack of punching power, and then when the work rate isn't at like a 10, then Zhu Can becomes a very beatable fighter. And Benitez, credit to him, he stayed on him the whole fight. He had him hurt and out on his feet in the 8th round because Zhu Can he kind of peeled out, standing very tall and very square, made himself a big target for Benitez, and Benitez had him hurt and he didn't finish him. But the fight was ruled a split decision. Brandon Benitez scores an upset in the biggest win of his career, so congratulations to him. He's been working very hard in Mexico. You love to always see fighters who aren't really known pick up these big wins because, listen, I want to show you guys something. So look, this is probably one of my favorite magazines. This is the Ring magazine, the future of boxing, most likely to succeed in 2020, right? And they had all the young stars of boxing on here. Now, when this magazine came out all those years ago, I always thought, I like Zhu Can, but this is the honest to God truth. I never thought he deserved to be on the cover. He always seemed like he was a bit out of place on here with Shakur Stevenson and T.O. and Devin Haney and these guys. And it is what it is. He's the first guy on this magazine that has lost twice. Nobody in this magazine has lost twice. Some of these guys are still undefeated, but he's the first guy to lose twice. So, I don't know where he goes from here because the reality with Zhu Can is, yes, he's 28, but he's been in a lot of wars. He's sustaining a lot of punishment, and I just don't know how you're going to really get him back to the level he once was at with the title. The defensive deficiencies are still there, and he doesn't punch that hard. And now it seems like he's not even able to throw the thousands of punches he was throwing before. So he can't. He comes up short again. His second loss in as many fights. I wouldn't mind seeing a rematch, but Brandon Benitez earned that victory tonight. He earned a victory. Shout out to him. Brandon Leon Benitez flying the flag high for Mexican boxing. Mexico has another fighter who seemingly has risen from the ashes and made something of his career and his life tonight in the sport of boxing. So much respect to him and Zhu Can for a good fight. I'll be following them both as the careers continue to move forward. In other news, the star of Pro Box tonight, the guy that really shined the most was the first fight on the card, because it was only a 4-fight card, but the first fight was 140-pound prospect Cesar the Rain Man Francis, taking on Francisco Armenta. Armenta was 12-1. As far as Armenta is concerned, he's a guy that, just before I even learned anything about him, I just thought it was a good matchup for him. Armenta's mainly been a Mexican fighter. He's most known for getting stopped his last fight just this past December against Ruben Torres. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, and with that being established here on True School Sports, Cesar Francis boxed a really good fight. He's very tall for this weight class. And this fight was at 147. Not 140, but he is a 140-pound prospect, and that's where he's going to be campaigning. But Cesar Francis did a great job. He used that size, and he landed a vicious, I'm talking like a vicious uppercut, highlight reel knockout, and it's another good win in his career. I mean, Francis, all of a sudden, you look at what he's doing. He's 31 years old. I believe he's managed by my guy Chris Glover. So shout out to Chris Glover, fellow Evertonian. He's a guy that's picking up some good wins. He just beat Ray Beltran his last fight. And we know Ray Beltran's a good veteran of the sport, albeit he's old and he was 41. It's still a good name to have on your resume. And Cesar Francis, as it stands right now, he's 12-0 with 7 knockouts. Beat Ray Beltran his last fight. Beat Muhammad Mamon. So he's beating some good veteran fighters. And, I've been looking at him probably getting a much bigger fight soon, because he's shown that he can box at a certain level, and it's time to step him up. So to me, there's not a whole lot to dissect, because it was a very one-sided fight. But he went out there tonight against Francisco Armenta, the 12-1 Francisco Armenta from Mexico, and just laid him out. Big ass uppercut, just got him out of there. So to me, he's really the star of the night. And then the other 2 fights you had, Kanat Islam taking on Javier Francisco Maciel. Now, I am familiar with Javier Francisco Maciel, because 3 years ago, I went to Atlanta with Stacey McKinley to go watch some of his fighters fight. He had a middleweight at the time named Carlos Monroe, who was at one point in time ranked by the WBA. And Carlos Monroe had a very close fight with Maciel. It's actually on the channel. You can go watch it if you want to. Maciel hurt Monroe a couple times. But yeah, Maciel has lost 11 of his last 12 fights, and that Monroe fight was the closest one he had. So he took on Kanat Islam. This was Kanat Islam's first fight following the loss to Jimmy Kelly, where he was a heavy favorite and really turned in a piss-poor performance. And this fight, for pretty much the 7.5 rounds, it was pretty much a sparring session until Kanat Islam started sending his punches. Then he dropped Maciel in the last stages of the 8th, and Maciel took Kanat Islam the distance. So Kanat Islam gets back in the win column. He improves to 21-1. And the reality with Kanat Islam in his career right now is Kanat Islam is 38 years old. Kanat Islam is someone that I've always been of the mindset is going to be positioned to fight Jaime Munguia, because he's always been high in the rankings. I could also see him maybe fighting Johnny Beck in the future, because it'd be Quazak style versus Quazak style. But yeah, he's back in the win column. Not much to make there. It was a sparring session, but Maciel, good on him. He takes Kanat is on the distance. And then in the other fight we had Daryl Valzaint. They call him Blast. Daryl Blast Valzaint, the Haitian Olympian. He came into this fight 5-0, taking on 21-3-2 Paul Mendez. Now, Paul Mendez veteran fighter of the sport. Paul Mendes, been around for a little bit of time. You know, Paul Mendes fought Evgen Kaitrov, and you know, probably the most notable name on his resume is Kaitrov to me that I know of. But I know that he's been a guy that's, you know, he's from Northern California, or he's fought at Northern California a lot, club show wise. And he took on this guy, Daryl Valsaint, who, a lot of hype on him coming out of the Pro Box camp. And it was a performance pretty much where Daryl went in there and did what he had to do. He showed that he could box, that he could punch, that he could slow. He showed a lot in the 2 rounds he fought, and he got him out of there in 2 rounds. So he moved up to 6-0 with 5 knockouts. And it looks good on his resume to beat a guy who, coming in, had 26 pro fights. 26 pro fights in Paul Mendes. So not a long card, but, you know, a somewhat eventful card. You know, Brandon Benitez gets the upset victory over Zhu Can and pushes his career forward. So shout out to him. And then Cesar Francis continues the Rain Man train rolling with a sensational highlight reel knockout. So I wouldn't say it was the greatest Pro Box card, because Pro Box has such a high standard, but for $1.99, I mean, it was a solid card. It was a solid card. Can't do too much complaining, and that's what it is. But the star of the night to me is Cesar Francis. He really turned in the highlight of the night with his knockout victory. So shout out to him. Shout out to Brandon Benitez for the upset victory over Zhu Can. And shout out to Pro Box Promotions. So leave your comments down below. Make sure you guys take the time to subscribe. And like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys.
And I think True School Sports, he's the truth. One of the best YouTube, the best.
Ooh, the number one.
Number one.
Brandon, you've been there, man, and you're building up a good following with us.
Thank you.
And I'm proud to be a part of what you're doing too. You are spectacular, and
thank you, man. All the best to True School Boxing, and keep up the good work.